Hello and welcome back. Before we get to part 2, Real Talk, please allow us to fulfill our capitalistic duty and plug our Patreon, the Contrarians Supplements.
That's right. For a small fee, you too can help the Contrarians rage on.
We have tiers ranging from just $1 to $10. It all depends on how much content you can handle.
Starting at $1, it's the Travoltis tier, which gets you access to new bonus episodes focusing on a new movie every month, as well as access to the patron chat. Join other patrons in making fun of our opinions.
Moving up to $3 is the Winoni's tier, which unlocks access to our pre-recording notes, our video reviews, and our spin-off show, Contrarians After Hours.
That's a more laid-back space where we talk about other things we've been watching, reading, playing, thinking about. Sometimes it's related to the movies being covered on the main feed, but it usually isn't.
If you want to be part of those patrons who help us shape the show by telling us which movies to tackle, that's when you sign up for the $5 tier, the Embries, and the $10, the Gads.
Finally, all supplement subscribers, regardless of the tier, get access to our archive of special patron projects. Head over to patreon.com/contrarianprime now to join.
Be sure to listen through the end of the episode to find out what's coming up to the Contrarian Supplements this month. Now, it's time for some Real Talk.
Die deutschen Truppen stehen vor den Toren von Paris. Eure Hauptstadt ist ohne jegliche Verteidigung. Euer Heer ist in Auflösung begriffen. Seid unbesorgt. Wir werden Ruhe und Ordnung wiederherstellen.
German's a little rusty.
Vertrauen in uns.
It's the Gestapo. They say they expect to be in Paris tomorrow. They're telling us how to act when they come marching in. With the whole world crumbling, we picked this time to fall in love.
Yeah, it's pretty bad timing. Where were you, say, 10 years ago?
10 years ago. Let's see. Yes, I was having a brace put on my teeth.
How did it take us this long to do this, Julio?
Well, I mean, we always try to, other than the first maybe year of the Contrarians, I think that we've tried to be very careful when we deploy the big movies. Try to make it
That's
special.
fair. When's the first time you saw this?
I was in film school, so probably 97, 98. I was a teenager.
The first time you saw it, did it resonate with you, like the aura, the being that is Casablanca?
Kind of. I mean, Nazis were gone at that time, so it was kind of like a relic instead of feeling like something that was extremely irrelevant. I was also a lot younger, but even then, I think that there was. I think that probably that was one of the first times where I felt that an older movie, a classic movie, had the capacity to still be effective for someone in modern times. And, you know, I'm telling you, I mean, I've seen a gazillion movies since then, obviously. But at that time, that was kind of the big takeaway. Maybe wasn't so much, oh, this is what Casablanca is, but on a more general sense, like, oh, this is what older movies can be. If you have the patience to sit down and watch them. Because as we'll discuss in this segment, I mean, this movie is, you know, it's a movie from the 1940s. So it's made with the tools of the trade of the 1940s and the aesthetics and the sensibilities of the 1940s. And that, I wouldn't blame anybody for having trouble getting past that at first. I mean, I have that problem. I've mentioned it in many episodes. Usually whenever we're talking about older movies, I have to get myself in the mindset to sit down and watch something that's like 50 years old, 60 years old, because the acting is different, the dialogue is different, and the social norms that were in play when the movie was made were different, which means that reflects on the movie. Do you always, and I think that when I watched Casablanca the first time, that might have been the first, because, you know, I was in film school, so we're watching a lot of old movies, and part of the learning process was just being taught how to appreciate things that you maybe right away don't connect with. And with Casablanca, I remember connecting to it, at least on a basic level, in a way that I hadn't connected with something like, let's say, Citizen Kane. And that was cool. I was like, all right, so it can be done. It can happen. And of course, I've seen it several times since. How about you? How old were you when you watched it? Was this a movie that you watched in the back of the car on a long road trip?
I had to have seen it on TV as a kid at some point because there's so many visuals of this I remember, but like I couldn't tell you the last time I watched it cover to cover like I did today. Baggage is the wrong word. I think it comes along with so much. You know what I mean? And I find myself preemptively annoyed with people that, would say that it's overrated or something. I was just watching it today. Have you ever met someone who has the personality trait that they don't like Casablanca? I feel like I've come across a friend of the podcast.
I met several of them a couple of nights ago when I was pulling negative quotes, but no, in person, I don't think I have. I know people that love it. Our friend Corey, the man behind our videos on YouTube, this is one of his favorite movies. He loves it. But no, I've never met anybody that, to my face, has told me, hey, you know what you should do in your show? Casablanca, because that movie fucking blows.
I think, if I remember correctly, I once had a conversation with our friend Reed about it, and I think he was the closest to that, in that he said, like, Bogart had better movies. But I don't remember him outright saying like Casablanca was bad, because it's certainly not. But what depths of Letterboxd did you have to dive to find negative quotes for this, Julio? Are there like half-star reviews?
Yes, I pulled 2 of those.
Uh-oh.
I mean, I think that the part of it is just posturing, and I think there may be some well-intentioned trolling. I mean, I gave Into the Spider-Verse half a star for a few weeks just to get people riled up. I mean, I know that you can do it, and that's fine. But as I was scrolling through it, because like I said in Contrarians Corner, I did a search, so I set my parameters, and I was like, no more than 2 stars, I think. And then I went to town, and there were a lot of reviews where you could just tell these were just people doing stand-up, right? And it was like, what's funny? If I say that Casablanca sucks, and I am very over the top about it. Basically, what we just did, Contrarians Corner. But then there are people that seem to be a lot more, not super serious. And like I said, I was avoiding reading all of it, but the little things that show up when you do the search, I was like, oh yeah, this is just somebody didn't like it. And actually, I was talking to my wife about it yesterday when I was trying to articulate why it was so disheartening seeing those things, even though the majority of people love Casablanca, or the majority of people that will express their opinion love Casablanca, right? But then to see people that it's not just that they don't like it, but that they seem to be proud of not liking it.
Yeah.
There's a bit of an arrogance at refusing to engage with the material based on whatever they choose to. Look, I'm going to read them to you and then we can get into it.
Don't count too much on my friendship, Ricky. In this matter, I'm powerless.
First, there was one lonely green splotch that I could pull from the Rotten Tomatoes website. Martin Scribbs from Low IQ Canadian, as if that's not telling enough.
There you go.
He just says, overblown. Which, to his credit, and the credit of anybody that's saying that it's overrated, I mean, a movie, you can think the movie's overrated without thinking that the movie's bad, right? So
correct,
overblown is not as bad as this movie sucks. Then jumping to Letterboxd, I just ended up pulling the ones that made me laugh. And so Nev gave it 1 star and said, take a shot every time someone says Casablanca. the old sport from The Great Gatsby. Brittany Canabar watched it October 9, 2018, gave it half a star. Should be called Casablanca or Casablanca. Also, I could not tell all these white men apart. Gotta blame that on the black and white film and the fact that everyone just wears suits. Best part of this was that I was eating Chick-fil-A during it. Yeah. I think it's funny. I mean, I know I've had trouble watching all movies where I was like, I don't know who this is. Was this person somebody that I've seen before? I don't know that it's so much that they're all white men. I think that it's just that they're actors that we're not familiar with. And they have looks that are different from what we're used to. At the same time, I think that they're all pretty distinctive because, you had somebody like Humphrey Bogart, who, as you would say, is not traditionally handsome, but he was there being the leading man.
Cool as shit.
And I don't know. I can't judge because I've seen Casablanca before. I don't know. Maybe I was also confused the first time I watched it. And I was like, I don't know. Who's Rick? Who's Rick again? Who's Laszlo? But I think that they're pretty distinctive. And then, of course, black and white film. I mean, that's just such a wasted joke. It's like just so worn out. I don't know when was the last time I made it. I hope the last time I made it on the show, I instantly follow it up by acknowledging that that was a worn out joke.
Yeah.
Okay, one more. Kate is Cool 69 watched it July 9th, 2021, gave it half a star. It says, more like Casablanca because this movie is straight up problematic. And that was like, I laughed at Casablanca as a, as a title. But I was afraid that Kate is Cool 69 was actually being serious about the problematic nature of movies from the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, whatever, right? Like it goes back to acknowledging the context when something was created and then making a conscious decision to simply write it off because it doesn't conform to modern day sensibilities. I was like, that is a hell of a choice that you're making that ultimately I think works to your detriment and on a bigger scale to the detriment of society.
Yeah.
And I know we talked about this back when we did the Nickelodeon episode because we were talking about how Birth of a Nation shows up in that movie and, you know, how that could freak people out, like rub them the wrong way and whatever. And I don't want to like do a deep dive into this, Alex, but I was talking to my wife about it and I kind of want to get it out of the way. Just this idea that, yes, we wouldn't make Casablanca the way that it was made. We would make that today, right? And I joked about the Ingrid Bergman character, about Ilsa kind of losing agency in the third act and becoming this sort of pawn in the machinations of these two men that claim to love her, probably love her, right? Back in the 40s, when you watch that, it was a lot easier to read it as romantic gestures and expressions of love and so on. And when you watch it today, if you're even somewhat aware of the socio-political climate, right, in the back of your head, there's something that has to be saying, okay, but shouldn't she be part of this conversation? Should she be making the call, right? But that's kind of like the first step. And then what you do is you continue to engage with the movie and discuss it and pick it apart and even like, you know, make an effort to appreciate how we were making movies back then and what this meant at this time and why we don't make movies this way anymore, right? Like there's, like I said, you wouldn't make Casablanca like this anymore.
With effort.
Okay.
Fucking lighting in this movie, man.
Oh, yeah. No. I'm not talking about like the production
you're talking
side.
narratively. I'm sorry.
Narratively. Yeah. I'm talking specifically like that thing with the Ilsa character, right? Like I think that the Casablanca remake that hopefully will never happen would give her character more of a say in how things play out at the end, instead of just having Rick explain to her why why he knows what's best. So just shut up and get on that plane, baby. So I think that there are people that would probably complain about that, or they would point out that, hey, the one black character is just subservient to the main white character, right? Or they would point out that,
yes, but I'm sorry, it's a movie from 1942 based in 1942. Yeah.
But I think that there are people that just have made the decision that, well, they're not going to engage with that. I don't like it and I don't need to, so I won't. And then they just move on. And I think that is patrons that listen to our top 10 of all time episode, they've heard me say something similar. I was like, I have my own triggers. I have things that I will just not watch. And I'm like, that's it, right? Like, I mean, I'll repeat it here. Like anything that you make relating to Donald Trump, I'm not gonna engage with it. I don't care. You know, like they could make the greatest movie of all time and it would be a Trump biopic and I just wouldn't watch it because I don't want to. So in that sense, you know, I'm not saying that people shouldn't have the liberty, the freedom to watch or not watch whatever they want. But I think that there's a bigger problem afoot when you have kind of this trend or this cultural movement that has figured out, either consciously or subconsciously, that it's very easy to just say, oh no, I'm going to cancel this. So I don't have to think about it, right? If I cancel it, I don't have to engage with it. I don't have to reckon with its contradictions. I don't have to reckon with how it mirrors life at that time and how it may mirror life still today. I just don't have to think about any of it because I can just say like, hey, I'm going to cancel it and I'm just going to move on to the next thing.
Yep.
That is such a loss to the world that we're losing the ability to engage with something critically, that we've given ourselves an out, that it really bums me out. I think my wife called it the loss of critical thinking. And I was like, thank you. That's exactly what I meant. And I'm not saying that everybody does this. And I'm not saying that every younger person does this. But I think that there's a good chunk of people that have accidentally maybe been trained by mostly social media, the internet, influencers or whatever, to just go to like the easiest way to appreciate art or to not appreciate art, which is to just cancel it, to just say, nope, I don't like it because the director cheated on his wife. So nope, I'm not going to watch it. Or, there's a problematic depiction of minorities, so I'm not going to watch it. I was like, okay, but the world is more complex than that. So
yeah,
you kind of owe it to yourself to engage with it and to see what you can get out of it, and to see, again, what that says about our history as artists, as a society. I keep saying society.
We're living in a society. We're supposed to act in a civilized way.
Yeah, well, we come across this pretty regularly, though, especially when we do older movies. I'm blanking. There was one
I think
did something.
Indemnity. Double Indemnity.
Double Indemnity. That might have been it. There was one we did within the past year that I remember getting like angry at some of the contemporary views on it. But it is fascinating that people, and we're not just fucking chastising the wokes here, but there's people on all sides of the equation that they refuse to accept that there's like different time periods where different things are relevant or even acceptable. How many filmmakers do we talk about that, like, Lars von Trier is a great example. I don't agree with that guy at all. I think he's a fucking idiot and has some extremely problematic views, but he's made some good movies. He's also made movies that I fucking loathe. So it's just the idea of, make up your mind for yourself, and you can't just immediately shut yourself off to things. And especially with fucking Casablanca, grow up, man. That's my response to that. So yes, I think we're in agreement, Julio.
Yes. All this as a summation to say that if you feel like we do, you probably want to avoid doing what I did and just doing a cursory look through the 1-star reviews of Casablanca on Letterboxd, because you're going to run, like I said, you're probably going to run into a lot of shtick too, but I think some of those are truthful, and they're just people that have decided that they don't want to do the work. And I'm not saying that you have to do the work. I mean, obviously, you, as a person, especially somebody who doesn't watch as many movies as we do, I think that when you watch a movie, you probably just want to relax. You don't want to wrestle with conflicting ideas unless you're really in the mood. So, I mean, I get it. But like I said, there's just something that rubbed me the wrong way. And that was the tone, that kind of like, I'm just so proud of the fact that I can call out a movie that was made all these years ago, was like almost 80, 85 years ago. And that gives me this sense of superiority. And I can just say like, no, I don't like it because that's not how we make movies today. And I'm not even going to bother thinking about it anymore. It's just like, that's a shame. That's a shame. But then again, and I'm fully open to being called on my bullshit. I know there are movies that I probably feel the same way about. So any of you that want to challenge me to revisit something that I've said that I don't want to check, other than the Trump thing, I'm sorry, that's like non-negotiable.
Hard stop.
And, maybe 20 years from now, when the Trump administration is just kind of something that we can laugh about more lightheartedly, then maybe I will. But at this point, but other stuff, right? I know in the hundreds of episodes we've done, I'm sure there's things where I've said, all right, well, I'll need to watch anything like this ever again. Will I watch another Rick Mail movie after watching Drop Dead Fred? I would say no, but maybe somebody would come up to me with a convincing argument to do so. And then I would have to stay true to my words and say, all right, I'll give it a shot. I'll engage. But let's talk about Casablanca, Alex.
Let's do.
Where do you want to start?
Where to start? I think we start at the top. Humphrey Bogart. How you feeling about him in this movie, Julio?
So it's his return to the Contrarians, because we did The African Queen years and years ago.
Oh, yeah. And we both lost our credibility as film scholars by decrying that we would rather watch London again than The African Queen. I
stand by that statement, by the way.
Same. I do.
But I would watch Casablanca before I watch London. So,
Oh, yes.
The universe balances itself.
It's a fucking given.
did we have a problem with Bogart himself? I don't think so, right? It was just more like the movie.
The movie was oddly paced. Yeah.
But he is, I mean, he's a lot more charismatic in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, part of it because he has to be, but also I think he just is. I buy him more as the owner of this cafe / bar / saloon than the kind of what was it, like the captain of a little boat in The African Queen, right?
Mm-hmm.
He fits here better. And I've seen him. I talked about it on Patreon. I saw him playing Philip Marlowe also in the Big Sleep. He has a very distinctive way of delivering dialogue, a very distinctive way of just acting, I guess. But I don't know, Alex, is it that he is unique all throughout, or is it just that, well, it's been like 80 years? So part of it is the way that people acted at the time, but then there's also the way that Bogart acts, right? Like among his peers, he was still kind of distinctive.
Yeah, I mean, it's a reason he was like top billed movie star at this point in time. And, there's still, it wasn't like today with the saturation of the market, but there was a lot of people trying to cut their teeth in acting. And there's a reason he was a fucking cut above. He
gets a couple of Oscar clips. When he breaks down, like I buy it 100%, just how miserable he is and how down in the dumps. And I guess it's a testament to his charisma that you don't really, he doesn't lose the audience. At least he didn't lose me, even when he was saying some pretty awful things to Ingmar Bergman. I guess talk me through this love triangle, Alex, because I don't know if you feel the way that you've claimed you felt in Contrarians Corner. As you're watching the movie, are you rooting for Rick and Ilsa to get back together, or do you think that it's better? Are you rooting, like I was, for him to see the error of his ways and realize that he really shouldn't fuck up this marriage?
I mean, a little bit of both, but also, me, I'm a hopeless romantic, so I wouldn't hate the idea of them running off into the sunset together. But what makes this such a good movie is that Rick realizes that that's just not his path to take. That, that's not the hand he was dealt, and in the end, does the right thing. You can tell. He obviously is. He's motivated to at least have Laszlo know they had something, and it means something to him. But then he does the fucking baller move at the end of saying she pretended to be in love with me and she's, all yours, that type of thing.
If you're Laszlo, though, you don't buy this.
No, but that's about as gentlemanly and, good brother if a thing that fucking Rick could have done there at the end. So it's the gesture more than anything. Gestures go a long way.
Yeah. It's gotta be a long flight to America for Laszlo.
He's just like staring at fucking Elsa the entire time. She's like, trying to read the fucking Air in the Sky magazine, whatever they have there, and he's just like staring daggers at her.
He's Woody Harrelson in Indecent Proposal, trying to get the details out of Demi Moore.
Oh yes. This of course is a good movie though. So what of Ingrid Bergman? What do you think of her?
You want to feel sorry for yourself, don't you? There's so much at stake. All you can think of is your own feeling. One woman has hurt you and you take your revenge on the rest of the world. You're a coward and weakling.
She's great, but I don't know that I have a lot of experience with. That hit me when I was watching the movie. I was like, have I seen her in anything else? Do I have any standing to talk about her? Like, obviously, I know of her, but I go through her filmography and I was like, I don't know that I've seen any of these movies. How about you?
I've had to have seen something she's made outside of this. Made for fucking screen. Like, again, the looks of people. Now it's just like a lot of like pretty people. And that's fine. But like when she shows up, and I have in my notes multiple times the lighting in this movie. And I jest about the lack of effort I find most modern filmmaking to consist of. So I'll try to just focus on the positives here, and that being, holy shit, the lighting in this movie, man. Like the way her face is lit in the first scene, like obviously the whole fucking closing with all the fog and shit, but the reveal of her and the close-ups of her, and like there's parts of like where the lighting's used specifically for like shadows and stuff, where like she'll drop her face and like a part of her face is shadowed out, and it's I know this sounds really fucking niche to focus on, but you know, when you think when you hear about like that golden age of filmmaking, and you know what's the fucking Under the Silver Lake, I don't know if you remember, that was something I talked about in that movie. Like the lighting was just like, it felt like I was watching something from, you know, decades prior, specifically when the blonde chick has the reveal in that movie. I remember they're specifically lighting her like Marilyn Monroe, but you know, it's that's the point. It feels like it's like a trick now, or like a mechanism when you do something like this, that it's supposed to conjure up thoughts of old movies like Casablanca. So when you actually watch this, though, it's like, oh my God,
the art Under the Silver Lake.
Yeah, exactly. The effort, the art, you know, everything that goes into this here. So that's like, to me, some of the shots of her, and specifically, you know, obviously the finale with Hump, the lighting of it and the framing of it, like this is, there's a reason this is like taught in film schools, and this is recognized as like one of the peaks of its art form, because it offers things that people nowadays would watch, and unfortunately a lot of people, if they're just used to modern filmmaking, I don't think would catch. But people like you and me, it's borderline mind-blowing every time.
There's that scene when it's coming back from the flashback when Bogart is just drunk off his ass, all bitter, and he's waiting for her. He keeps telling Sam, she's coming, I know she's coming. Then she walks in, and so they're in the darkness, but then when she walks in, the light comes in through the open door and frames her against the door, and it's pretty fucking amazing.
Yeah. The final crane shot is also fucking nuts. Understanding now we have drones and stuff, so people wouldn't really understand like why is that so impressive, but just though, you know what I'm talking about, when they're walking off into the fog together, and the camera just like rises up over them. Like, that's amazing.
People are like, what's happening?
Yeah, exactly. How's that camera moving? Yeah. So
but yeah, Ingmar Bergman, I think the same applies to her as far as having enough charisma so that the audience doesn't turn on you, because it would be very easy for someone to turn on her when she betrays Laszlo. You know, betrays him in the sense that, I mean, it's a betrayal. She sleeps with Rick. Even if you want to say, oh, there's no sex. I mean, she kisses Rick. She tells Rick, I'm not going to leave you again. And so she is made, in her mind, she's decided that she's staying in Casablanca with Rick. That is, you know, a pretty thorny thing to do, especially because Laszlo has been portrayed as a sympathetic character. And so I could see how some people could like lose it there, the sympathy for the Ilsa character, but you don't, because she comes across as so genuine in her feelings. And you know, just movie stars just have it sometimes. That's why they're movie stars. They just capture you. They capture not just your attention, but also your sympathies, your allegiance, so to speak. I mean, the movie wisely, I guess, avoids making the love triangle any more complicated than it needs to be in order for there to be a somewhat happy ending. But it's still, right? I think that she's a really good actress that has really good presence, the way that Bogart is a really good actor that has really good presence. So you can watch him make these bad decisions that are going to hurt people, and then you kind of forgive them for it, and you just keep going to see what else happens in the movie. Unless you're Alex Mattis, and then you're like, no, that's okay. They belong together. I don't care about anything else.
I didn't say that. I like the way this ends. I like the nobility that Hump displays, Rick displays. This is a trio also, and Paul Henreid rounds it out as Victor Laszlo. I don't know if he leaves quite the same impression as the other two, but I don't really know if he's supposed to.
It would be hard, because if you had a Laszlo that is more charismatic than Bogart, then maybe no matter what Bogey does, you end up resenting him for being a homewrecker.
True.
And maybe it would also affect Ilsa. You just wouldn't understand why it would make less sense why she goes back to Bogart instead of staying with this really charming guy. But he pulls it off, man, because you can see it. I mean, it's funny because when I think of Casablanca, I don't think of it as a love triangle until I'm watching the movie, and I'm like, yeah, that is true. I don't think I even got it on my notes, but I was like, the original love triangle, right? also has Jean Grey. Laszlo would be Cyclops, and Bogey, of course, is the bad boy, so he's Wolverine. And you just have her like, you like them both, and she's a good person, but undeniably they have chemistry between the three of them. So, yeah, Laszlo, I like him. I think he gets the best scene of the movie is an ensemble scene in a way. It's a group scene, but he is the one that leads it. And of course, I'm talking about the French anthem. Let's try to say it again, Alex. La Marseillaise? Marseillaise?
I think you've got it better than I do.
Anyway, that's the Laszlo scene. I mean, everybody's involved, right? So Laszlo starts it. Rick comes in and does the assist by giving the nod, saying, yes, you can do this. Ilsa watches from the table. And then, of course, Renault is reacting to it, and the Nazis are reacting to it, and then everybody else in the bar is part of it. So I think that if you didn't like Laszlo, for some reason you were kind of resisting it because you saw him as Bogart's competitor, by the time you get to that scene, I think he wins you over. Because it's just such a steering moment, just from plot mechanics, just by themselves. Like, that's pretty awesome, right? That they find a way to pit the Nazis versus the French in a way that's very symbolic. They're singing their song, we're gonna sing our song, and then we're gonna overpower them to where they stop singing. I mean, that is great.
Yeah, it's a great scene.
Yeah, and then just, I guess, on a bigger level, just what it means for the world, the history of the world, what was happening at that time, and just the little acts of resistance. Like, what are you allowed to do to tell these people to fuck off? You can't tell them to fuck off to their faces, but you can play a song that represents your country's freedom and independence and be defiant, at least in that small way. And the fact that it works, and you have those close-ups of the people crying, and it's awesome. The movie peaks for me there. And I'm not saying that the rest of the movie after that is not good, but I'm just saying that I get more emotional about that moment than at the very end when Rick is putting the two lovers in the plane. I think it's amazing. And I don't know if it's to the movie's credit or to my memory's non-credit that I thought there was an equivalent in Barbed Wire. And then looking, I was like, no, that scene does not happen in Barbed Wire. I was trying to remember what the musical number was in Barbed Wire when this happened. But no, all that happens is that they close the bar down. They ransack the bar and they close it. But there's no Marseillaise or any equivalent song. Tommy Lee did not pen an original for that one.
Yeah, the scene in question, the patriotism conquering all, it's quite moving. And I joked in Contrarians Corner about it's something that I can't really relate to, but especially I could imagine certain parts of the country watching this movie, or excuse me, the world, certain parts of the world when this came out, watching that and finding that to be pretty moving. 99% on Rotten Tomatoes, we talked about, directed by Michael Curtis, screenplay by Julius Epstein, Philip Epstein, and Howard Koch. So it's based on the play Everybody Comes to Rick's, which was originally written in 1940. It was bought unproduced by Warner Brothers for $20,000 and adapted into what we know as Casablanca. By today's money, $20,000 in 1940 equates close to like $350,000. So worked out all right for them. And then it looks like it went into actual stage production in 1991.
91? Okay.
In the summer of 1938, while on vacation from his job, English teacher and vocalist, as an English teacher at a vocational school, this was Murray Burnett, and his wife Frances traveled to Vienna to help Jewish relatives smuggle money out of the country occupied by Nazis since March of that year. Later, they visited a small town south of France where he went to a nightclub overlooking the Mediterranean Sea. A black pianist played jazz for the crowd of French, Nazis, and refugees. He returned to the U.S., where he started to make notes for his anti-Nazi play. In the summer of 1940, the 27-year-old teacher completed the play in 6 weeks with the collaboration of Joan Allison. They featured Rick, an American bar owner of Café Américain in Casablanca, Morocco, whose European inhabitants, military personnel, and refugees often frequent the cafe. Eventually, Rick helps an idealistic Czechoslovakian resistance fighter escape with the woman, that Rick loves. And this became Casablanca. And in February of 1991, Everybody Comes to Rick's was produced by David Kelsey at the Churchill Theater in Bromley, Kent, advertised as both Rick's Bar in Casablanca and Everybody Comes to Rick's Bar in Casablanca. In April, it transferred to the West End, running at Whitehall Theater for 6 weeks under the simplified title Rick's Bar Casablanca. Interesting.
Why not just call it Casablanca?
It's much cleaner. There you go. In its time, its production budget was around $1 million. It's one of those, due to the time it was released, its original box office run is kind of unable to confirm, but some places report upwards of $7 million. Went on to become, again, I hate to be so hyperbolic, but one of the most celebrated films of all time. We mentioned our boy Raj, absolutely fucking in love with it. I mean, what else can you say?
Well, I'll tell you this. It's a little weird whenever I hit one of these classic movies. Not weird, because it happens, but I guess what I would say is that Michael Curtis, as a director, doesn't have the reputation that you usually associate with the directors of like enduring classics. And that's no disrespect to him. I mean, obviously he made a shitload of movies, and I don't think I've seen any of them, but clearly this was like the days of the studio system. And so he was just, to say that he was churning them out makes it sound like a negative thing, but it was like, you know, this was someone else's project. They brought it, the studio bought it, they developed the script, and then they attached a director to it, and then along came a masterpiece. But it's not, you know, whenever we talk about like the big movies, usually we're used to having a very unique vision that kind of took the movie through its entire production. And so you think, when you think of somebody like a movie from Hitchcock, or a movie from Orson Welles, or from a movie from Spielberg, a movie from Fincher, I'm just thinking of, you know, directors and movies that, you know, you're like, oh yeah, that's such a Tarantino movie. That is such a, let me come up with like a female filmmaker. So that's not just dudes. There's a Kelly Reichardt movie.
Penny Marshall.
There's a Penny Marshall movie that is definitely a Nora Ephron script. You know, I can't say that about Michael Curtis. And of course, part of it is just because I'm not familiar with the filmography. But I think that also, I think that he's known, obviously well known as the director of Casablanca, but it's not, he may not be known as an author, as a filmmaker author. And so Casablanca was directed by Michael Curtis, but it's not necessarily a Michael Curtis movie, you know, the way that we're used to thinking about those things. But it's such an iconic film, you know, in the history of movies. And yet, you know, that's the way that they made movies at the time. You know, most movies, they were just made as part of what the studio had on their slate. And that was it. And the fact that it still manages to be so powerful and say so much, I mean, it's pretty impressive. I mean, you watch Casablanca, do you feel like, oh, should be just like the beginning of a beautiful friendship between Louis and Rick, right? This is the beginning of a beautiful, like, deep dive into Michael Curtis movies. And I don't feel that way. I just feel like I'm good with Casablanca. You know, I'm probably missing out on some things. And if I had the time, I would obviously like to check out some of the other stuff. But this is, like I said, one of those weird, rare occasions where my bias disconnects the movie from the filmmaker. Not because I don't want to give Curtis credit, but because I think that it's not like I don't know, that could be wrong, but I don't think that this was like a labor of love that he had to bring to the screen. And,
that's like, honestly, that is something that didn't really exist until like the 70s, I would argue. The idea of like, oh, the director matters, you know, obviously in the system it did, but like, I'm talking like outwardly, you know, to like audiences and stuff like that. That's another thing we can chalk up to Jaws.
Yes. But also you brought up The Great Dictator. And I mean, I know that Chaplin was more of an exception, you know, not a rule, but a Chaplin movie was a Chaplin movie.
If he was starring in it, I don't know if they really cared that he directed it.
You think so? that was something else that came up in my conversation with Kelly yesterday, because she was telling me her big issue with the movie was some historical inaccuracies, mainly that the letters of passage that everybody's like fighting for would have been useless anyway, because the signature feature on those letters wouldn't have carried the power that the movie says it did at that time. And I was like, all right, well, you know that. And, some historians may know that. Maybe even now with the advent of the internet, a lot of people watching it today could conceivably know that. But I was thinking, like, general audiences back in the 40s, would they have known like the specifics of what the letters of passage, what signature matter? And she said that she thought they did. And I was like, I don't know. I feel like questioning like the average not intelligence, just like overall knowledge, like awareness of somebody that goes to the movies to watch Casablanca in 1942, right? I'm not saying that they didn't think that things were bad, because obviously they did. Pearl Harbor had already happened. But the specifics of what signature you need to get out of Casablanca to, start the trip to the States, and which one mattered and which one didn't. Like, I think that that was not like a universal knowledge. I could be wrong. I mean, I don't know. We would say we've gotten dumber as the decades have gone by. So maybe people were a lot more into following.
My argument would be just access to information, like at that point in time. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah. But anyway, the overall idea of the auteur, you're right. Whenever they were selling a Chaplin movie, they were selling it as a Chaplin movie because Chaplin is in front of the camera, not necessarily because the average person going to see it knew that he was also the brains behind the screenplay and the direction and everything else.
How can you close me up? On what ground?
I'm shocked to find that gambling is going on in here.
You're winning, sir.
Oh, thank you very much. Everybody out at once.
I feel we need to take a moment here before we wrap up to give a shout out to Renault, Claude Rains.
Yes.
Very funny. Like, laugh out loud funny in parts in this movie.
He's great.
Specifically at the end where he's got the gun on him. He's like, you're going to call in, he tells him, make sure that plane's ready. And he's like, I have made up my mind to do this now. Or he says something like that, with the gun pointed at him. And also just his reaction to I cannot believe I've discovered there's gambling here. You're winning, sir. Thank you. Just his mannerisms and his, goofiness. And also I like his character. He says something to Rick at one point when he believes Rick's selling out Victor and stuff. He's like, a man with less scruples than I. He says something like that. He's very entertaining in this.
Do you think that we would have lost him? We would have lost our sympathies for him if you actually saw him. Well, you wouldn't see him, but if the implication was made that that woman eventually slept with him for a visa.
Yeah, that might have been a bridge too far.
Right? It already feels like it's pushing it to know that he's doing that. Like, he's not forcing himself necessarily on anyone, but he is basically trading sexual favors, and it doesn't look like the assumption is that nobody wants to do it. It's just that they have to do it. He's exploiting their situation. And so this is a really shitty thing to do. And yet he comes across as one of the most entertaining, one of the most charming characters in the movie. Again, I don't know that you can do it today. I think today you might have like you would have to handle that aspect of his character a lot more carefully. And you have to cast an actor that can be at least as entertaining, as charming as Claude Rains. Because he has, him and Rick are the ones that have the big arc. They both learn to fight back. In the case of Rick, I guess go back to his previous status as a fighter of lost causes. And in the case of Renault, it's just, well, I guess I've been sitting on the sidelines for too long. But either way, they have that big arc that you're rooting for. You want them to fight back. I don't know. Do you remember the first time you watched this movie? If you were hoping, one of the things you were hoping throughout the movie was for Renault to fight back against the Nazis, or if you were just watching it thinking, oh, this is just one of the bad guys. It just happens that he's funny.
Yeah, I think it was probably more the latter. I can't remember ever watching this movie hoping like he was going to turn or something like that. I think I saw him as like the Rick's ear to the ground,
Well, I'll also give a shout out to Dooley Wilson, who plays Sam, who gets only a couple of scenes, but I think he does wonders in his scenes with Rick. There's a lot of limitations in the way that, self-imposed limitations in the way that the filmmakers at the time, would depict this type of friendship. Like, what exactly is the relationship here? We're never told. I mean, obviously he's his employee, but they go way back, and they seem to have a bond. And Sam seems to be able to speak to Rick in a tone that other people don't, right? He tells him what's what, and he even tells Ilsa, "Yeah, you're not good for him. You need to go away." So I found that pretty refreshing, I guess, because I was expecting that character to be a little more just like, oh, I'm going to play the piano, I'm going to provide that type of entertainment, and I will be Rick's backup as far as like emotional backup, but I'm not going to speak my mind and tell him what I think is happening, and yet he does. I think it's an interesting dynamic, and I mean, I don't need the Sam, the remake of Casablanca that's from Sam's point of view, although I think that would be pretty interesting. But again, if we're talking about this, hopefully not inevitable Casablanca remake, I think that the character of Sam would probably get more to do and would have more screen time, just because the seeds are there for something that's really interesting, and what they get to do in the movie at least it shows that.
We'll take the car and drive all night. We'll get drunk. We'll go fishing and stay away until she's gone.
Shut up and go home, will you?
No, sir. I'm staying right here.
So where do you rank this? Or how do you rank this, I should say?
Oh, this is 5 stars. There's no, I mean, for all my nitpicking and all my pointing out, oh, well, Ilsa should have had more agency and all that stuff. It was the early 40s. I'm okay not docking any points for that. In fact, the fact that it has those things, and then by the end, I am caught up on the power of what Rick's saying, even if he is maybe mansplaining how to fight back against Nazis to his ex-girlfriend. It's still powerful. It's a powerful sentiment. And the overall message of the movie of how you shouldn't sit on the sidelines. You need to participate. You need to take a stand. That resonates with me more today than it did 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And I think that if you watch Casablanca and you hate everything else, and that causes you to miss that big point that the movie's making, that's a damn shame. You should at least give it credit for that. So 5 stars.
Yeah, this is an A for me. To resist the urge to be completely cliche, I don't know if I'm going to go with an A+, but this is certainly, it's everything that it is said to be. I don't know how you can watch this and not walk away just being like, movies are good sometimes, So it's, I found myself just so enchanted by the actual filmmaking in this, or like, I was fixated so much on the lighting, like I said, and like the crane shot and shit. And I know that's like such a nerdy way to view film, but I think when I'm coming at it from the perspective I am of just being blown away that like a movie like this was made the better part of 100 years ago, and I'm still just like, oh my God, look at this. I hope that comes across as positive, because it is all positive. So yeah, an A. Top tier stuff. I have a DVD. What did you watch this on?
It's on Max, I think. So I don't own it, which that needs to change. And as we were not recording yet, but this doesn't have a criterion, so I'm just gonna have to go with whatever's next.
There is like a 75th anniversary Blu-ray I saw. I own like a really bottom of the barrel DVD version of it, so I'm probably gonna have to upgrade that here before too long. Criterion, what the fuck? Get on it, man. We were talking about this before we recorded, and we said, yeah, that'd be a bit too on the nose. Yeah,
they're going to do like 5 other Michael Curtis movies. Just leave Casablanca hanging.
We spent 2 hours trashing Armageddon, so if it gets a Criterion, then fucking Casablanca should get one.
One last thing, Alex, because we hardly mentioned him. Sidney Greenstreet, he plays Ferrari, the owner of the other bar.
Yeah.
Did you make the connection with the character in Barbed Wire? The big guy with the turkey leg?
Big Fatso?
That was his name, right?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. I am now.
Because she tries to sell him whatever the MacGuffin is in Barbed Wire. She goes to him to sell him that, much the way that, Ferrari in this movie, he's kind of the guy that's trading in other letters of passage and so on. So I'm sure that's a connection, which makes it even more delightful. There's very specific characters that are being translated to the Barbed Wire adaptation. Because I think at the time we were like, is this somebody from the comics? What's the deal with the big guy with the turkey leg? And I guess no. I guess it was supposed to be Sidney Greenstreet.
We talked about Roger's love of Casablanca, and I know we called this out in the Barbed Wire episode, but Roger Ebert pointed out that the plot was identical to that of Casablanca and derided the lowbrow attempts at sensuality, but praised the cast and crew's approach to material. The filmmakers must have known they were not making a good movie, but they didn't use that as an excuse to be boring or lazy. I'm going to have to go watch Barbed Wire now, goddammit.
Which you also own.
I do on Blu-ray.
You're two ahead of me.
I have a higher definition quality remake of Casablanca than the actual one. So,
Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
All right. Highest of praise for Casablanca. It should come as really no shock. Julio, what's next?
Coming up next. All right, we're done being fancy, being artsy, being respectful. Have you heard of the movie That Awkward Moment, Alex?
No. Wait. Zac Efron?
I think maybe. I'm thinking Miles Teller and Zac Efron might be one of the other guys. It's three guys. And then Michael B. Jordan, I think it's the other one. 2014. 23% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I might have screened that movie.
Oh. I think I watched it on cable a while ago. I don't know if I watched the whole thing.
January release date. There you go. Always a good start. Imogene Poots.
Hey, coming back to the Contrarians. This is a little more lighthearted than Green Room, so we should have fun. This is coming to us courtesy of patron Jason Nerdrovert, who said, guys, you need to engage with modern day rom-coms.
Well, we'll see about that.
So an hour and 34 minutes. It's not too bad, Alex.
There we go. Yeah.
To have a good time praising that awkward moment and then, I guess, reckoning with our real feelings. But that's on the main feed. On the Patreon feed, the bonus episode this month is for the movie Rounders, which Alex may or may not have seen, and I've seen once long ago, and I'll tell you what drove me to that movie. But that's the bonus episode. For QVRs, Alex, another dual QVR, also requested by patron Jason Nerdrovert. This is going to be The Last Showgirl, which I think is a documentary. Maybe not. We'll figure out.
That's the new Taylor Swift album, you daft cunt.
Jason, we said movies. All right, we'll see what The Last Showgirl is. I'm down to watch whatever. We're going to watch together, so it'll be fun. And then for Contrarians After Hours, this time we just on the fly have decided to talk about a movie that we watched in theaters, not together, but we definitely shared enthusiasm for it. And that is, of course, the newest Naked Gun. It's not a remake. It's a sequel of sorts.
Continuation.
A continuation, yeah. Liam Neeson.
That's the funniest part I was reading about. I didn't even connect it in the movie, but based in the movie, Liam Neeson's supposed to be 30.
That's awesome. Well, we'll talk about it. A minor spoiler, we both liked it. And of course, co-starring Pamela Anderson, Barbed Wire herself. So it's the perfect tie-in to this.
Yeah, and that Last Showgirl movie, that's Pam Anderson's in the lead. It's a movie from last year that I now remember hearing about.
Oh, wow. It's almost like Jason was looking at our Excel sheet, just planning along with us.
Kiernan Shipka, I like her. And former WrestleMania main eventer Dave Bautista's in it. And also star of a Disney attraction.
All right, all-star affair for The Last Showgirl. This is coming together in a way that I didn't anticipate. Maybe Pam Anderson is also in Rounders, and I just don't remember. We'll see. But anyway, that's on the Patreon channel, patreon.com/ContrarianPrime. Check it out. And now, Alex, let's sing the American anthem.
No.
It might make things better.
Please rise for the national anthem. Then we just start singing, I don't know, Fat Lip by Sum 41.
All You Need Is Love.
And that's not ours, though. That doesn't belong to us. Anyway, Julio, here's looking at you, kid.
Of all the gin podcasts, you all chose to be here. Not gonna complain. Bye.
Welcome to our end credits.
Or as we usually call them, our perennial plugs.
We start off by giving thanks to the Festive Years who provide our opening and closing tracks. They kick us off with Last Stand and take us home with Summer of 99. Be sure to head over to thefestiveyears.com for any and all Festive Years needs.
Our friend and fellow podcaster Hans Rothgieser is the man behind our logo and all the art you see related to our show. Reach out to him and let him know how much you like that little tomato. His email address is mildemonios@hotmail.com and his website is mildemonios.pe. That's MILDEMONIOS. Hans, thank you for all your support.
For those interested in the regularly absurd world of professional wrestling, Joe and the boys over at latenightgrin.com have you covered. Tell them the Contrarians sent you.
And we like to close with special thanks to our social media team of Zoe Perez and Coriari. Each of the social media accounts we mentioned in the introduction look as good as they do because of their work.
So that'll do it for this episode of The Contrarians, where we're right and you're wrong, and we will catch you next time.
Just for old time's sake, I really don't care who you see and how much money he makes a year.